I'll never forget the day that I decided I wanted to play the drums. It was no special day that it happened, just another day at school. All I wanted to do was have recess, go home, and play my PS2. But that was when an announcement came over the intercom. It was our principal saying that we had a guest presenting to the whole school. I was semi-excited because that meant I got out of learning how to do things such as dividing and simplifying fractions, and that wasn't particularly my favorite school subject. Anyway, I headed to the multi-purpose room, walking with kids such as Ben Oseguera and Jordan Killen, my fellow Manor students. When we arrived, we took a seat on the blue mats that had been set out for us. Before the guest even started to talk, I saw this magnificent thing on stage. It looked like a bunch of weird circles. Easy to say, I wasn't the most musically informed student in the 4th grade. Anyway, as I continued to stare at the thing on stage, I finally realized that the guest had actually started to talk. I wish I could remember his name, but I just can't. What I can remember, though, is that he really knew how to charm 4th grade students. He would stand up there, cracking jokes, and getting us engaged into his presentation. Finally, after a few minutes, he declared himself a drummer. No, wait, a percussionist. At the time, I had no idea what a percussionist was. But hey, it sounded cool, and I felt smart saying it, so I went along. He gave us a grand tour of what he called his drum kit. I still wasn't sure what that was. I mean, I knew of a drum set, but not a drum kit. I thought it was interesting, but as if he was reading my mind, he said, "But you guys probably know it as a drum set." Still, it was the first time I'd ever seen one in real life, and just the look of it made me want to go up and hit it multiple times. But when the man actually sat down to play, that's when I knew I needed to get one of these and learn to play it just like him. When he finished, the applaud of the crowd just engulfed the auditorium. He took a bow, told some more stories about how he played in things such as a Disneyland parade, and left us wondering just how he played such cool beats. The school talked about it for the rest of the day, asking each other just how he did that, and just how cool it would be to play like him. So, I went home like a 4th grader, and whined to my mom. "Mom, I want to play the drums," I said. Her face was probably the most shocked I'd ever seen it, but surprisingly, after getting over the shock, she said,
"Okay, we can see if we can find you a teacher.
I was thrilled at these words, but then she said something that took away my smile.
As long as you clear it with your father."
Now, my parents are divorced, but for some reason, they always like to bounce the yes to a question back and forth with each other. But I was determined, so I gave him a call. But you see, my dad is one of those old, cranky, ex-Vietnam veteran, 30-year San Francisco Police Department officer kind of guys. So, convincing him to let me play the loud drums turned out to be kind of a challenge. But luckily, once I turned on my little kid charm, I finally convinced him to say, "We'll try it out." So we set to work on finding me a drum teacher. Luckily for me, my sister had a friend who played drums. She gave my sister his phone number and name, and she gave it to us. We decided to give him a call, and luckily for us, he had enough room for another student. His name was Jeff Rosen, and I will never forget my first lesson with him. As we pulled up to his studio, the nerves finally started to kick in. It's one thing for a 4th grader to think and dream about doing something, but it's a whole other thing for it to actually become a reality. Well, I saw him standing outside with his drumsticks in his hand, and I immediately was eager to rush in and get to work. I said bye to my mom and headed off to go play. He introduced himself and told me that to become a successful drummer, I would really need to focus and put in a lot of time and effort. I said I would, in my nervous little 4th grade voice, and started learning the little things. I learned how to properly hold a stick and just what a quarter note was. As I sat there, I thought to myself how this was nothing like I thought it would be. But I tried my hardest and did what he told me. At the end of my drum lesson, I said thank you and headed out with my mom, eager to go home and practice what he taught me. Here I am, almost 6 years after that first drum lesson, and I never regret sticking with it. I've met many great teachers and musicians because of this choice, and I feel that it has played a huge role in just who I am today. Every now and then, I think about the man who performed for us in the elementary school, and that if I ever got a chance to meet him again, I would thank him for inspiring me to do something I really love